Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today we're going to be unboxing the Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game Collector's Edition. Now, some of you guys may have heard of this one, some of you may not have heard of it. This is something that, from my understanding, is not carried in any local game store. I tried getting this to my local game store, and it was not possible. So I had to actually pick this up straight from the web store, which is another thing that really surprised me, was the fact they actually had stock of this still. Basically, if you're not familiar with what this Collector's Edition is it's another entry point into the Lord of the Rings, the card game, as it gives you some base game content as well as some additional content for individuals that have already been a part of the card game for some time. Like myself, Mage Knight and Lord of the Rings, the card game, are two games from 2011, if I'm not mistaken, that I picked up and have been playing heavily ever since. I have all content for both of them. And of course, I also have games like Arkham Horror, the Living Card Game, which of course is the, I guess, the successor essentially from Lord of the Rings, and has built upon that platform and taken it even further. But one of the things missing from my collection was the Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game Collector's Edition, which has some items in it that you can't find in any other pack that is typically fired out for this. So this was the last piece that I needed to kind of be up to date, and I thought it'd be really cool to just show this to you guys, because it is a limited collector's edition as it's listed on the Fantasy Flight Games store, but it's still available for purchase. So for any of you that enjoy the game or want to get into the game, this is potentially an entry point. Now, just a quick disclaimer on this is not just physical components inside this collector's edition. There is also an online app which has recently come out in months prior, in 2018, and that app allows you to play the Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game, at least an adaptation of that, not the fully fledged card game. They're a little bit different but have similarities overlapping. Won't get too much into that, but essentially this gives you an entryway into that electronic version, as well as some physical components for your actual physical copies of the game. So that's the major reason why I'm grabbing it, is more so for the physical product. The online is kind of a nice to have. So without further ado, you've heard a little bit about kind of where I got this and its availability, as well as roughly what's inside, but how about we actually take the top off the box and find out what really is inside this collector's edition. Alright, I'm pretty excited for this. Let's go ahead and open the box. There's a handle here if you want to carry the thing around. One thing I did notice, guys, when I was looking at this actually online through some other videos of unboxings that I had seen, some people had looked into whether or not this box could be used to actually store cards, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it is a little bit short of being able to do that. The cards could lay flat, actually like this, but they could not lay like this without being a little bit above the edge. So you might be able to get some use out of this box here, but the prime reason I'm picking up is not for the box itself, because that's just a safe way of transporting the goods that are inside. It's really for this 2-player limited edition starter box, this playmat, and of course a nice ring. So let's go ahead and dive into the components inside this box. So after taking the components out of the major outside box, we have now all of the pieces out. We're going to go ahead and unveil the playmat, which I'm really excited to take a look at, and then we're going to crack into this 2-player set, take a look at some of the promos that come along with it, as well as the content inside. Alright, so what you're seeing here is a top-down look of the collector's edition playmat for Lord of the Rings, the card game. Now, what you may not notice on screen is this is a lot more vibrant than I believe the colors are showing up on camera currently. It really does have a weathered look, and hopefully that's coming across decently on camera here, but there's some aging basically that's going on with this particular one that I really appreciate and like, because it really does look like a scrawled up map that's been laid out and has really aged over time. The browns and the gold on it really shine, and I hope that's coming across on camera, and if it's not, just want to let you know that there is definitely a difference as I look through the viewfinder and see what you guys are seeing versus what I'm seeing in front of you. The blacks are also much darker and things like that, but it's a very nice playmat. This is not going to be overly large. This one is going to be great for solo play, so it's perfect for me being a collector's edition. I can just use any time. I also own the other playmat available from Fantasy Flight that is a larger version of this, and not of this particular one in terms of its, aged look as well as its kind of golden brown hue, but more of a tamer colored but larger version of Middle Earth with some artistry in terms of the Fellowship at the very top and some room for some of the different decks. So that's kind of a trade-off is, you know, do you want to go and pick up in your local game store, do you want to, or online, do you want to actually pick up a playmat that's larger and has room to actually put decks in certain spots and things like that, but takes up more table space? Or would you prefer something from a collector's edition like this that's a little bit more normal in terms of its size, and it's not overly large, and everything can really fit on this quite well. So this is nice to add into the collection, but wasn't the primary reason I picked it up. I really wanted to pick this up for the 2-player limited edition starter, which we're going to dive into next. But I'm very, very impressed with this playmat. So the first layer of shrink wrap has been removed off this 2-player set, and it released the one Ring of Power, which is a replica ring that comes along with this collector's edition, which is another really cool addition, which we'll talk about in a second. First, before we go to that ring, we're going to talk about this envelope, which is actually on the very back of this 2-player set. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe these are art prints from the game. So let's go through these. These should be pretty cool and remind us of some of the cards for those of us that have played the game. The artwork's pulled straight from there. So Gimli, Frodo, we got Aragorn. Oh man, and like I'm telling you, the artwork in Lord of the Rings, the card game, some of the cards are just absolutely fantastic. And I do forget the name of the artist that created this particular piece. I believe his name started with an M. It might have been Marcello or something along those lines, probably butchering his name regardless. But anyway, he deserves extreme props, because whenever I move through that card game, back when I was playing extremely heavily, and even now when I just play through it in order to catch up to current released packs that are ongoing, this particular artwork, or his artwork that comes up, is always something to stop and just admire. The artwork is absolutely phenomenal, but all of it's really good. But the cool thing about Lord of the Rings, they have a number of different artists in there, so you basically become very much familiar, or you tend to like a particular artist's style. And I just, his ability to capture characters in Lord of the Rings is just second to none. And then of course we have this one here, which just says, assemble your fellowship and face the dark forces of Sauron in the Lord of the Rings, the living card game. Choose your heroes and lead them through adventures across Middle-earth in Lord of the Rings living card game, the first game released from Fantasy Flight Interactive. As you explore iconic locales and battle legendary foes, you'll unlock quests, recruit heroes, earn new cards, and collect special rewards. So this is a direct connection to the online mode. This is talking about the digital one. So I have codes on the back of this. I am not going to show you guys because they're digital game codes for Steam and for the soundtrack and things like that. So I'm going to keep that away from the camera. But that's going to do it for the art prints. But now we should probably talk about the One Ring of Power. I've now taken off the packaging for the One Ring of Power, so let's read the card that came with it. It says, the original One Ring was forged deep in the bowels of Mount Doom by Sauron. Your One Ring replica was forged in the majesty of the Rocky Mountains by Paul J. Badali, a lifelong fan of the novels of J.R.R. Tolkien. The One Ring of Power was originally forged of evil, but to true Tolkien fans, the ring has become a symbol of the struggles and bonds of the Fellowship in their journey, the triumph of good over evil, and the timeless words of Tolkien. The card certifies that your One Ring is an officially licensed design and is inspired of the novels of J.R.R. Tolkien. And what collector's edition would be complete without the One Ring itself? So I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys all the sides of this ring. So you can see there's one portion there that doesn't have anything, but on the outside of this ring, all the way around, there is markings and inscribings around the ring, which is really, really cool. And of course, there's markings on the inside as well, which is also cool. And of course, it wouldn't be a collector's edition ring that's a replica if you couldn't put it on your hand. So one of the biggest things that I noticed with this particular product when I pulled it out of the box was its size. This is supposed to be a 2-player limited edition starter. Now, we all remember the starter or core box originally used to be much bigger than this. So they have scaled the box down to fit alongside of all the expansions that are out for Lord of the Rings. So this box will sit right beside all of the other expansions like Overhill and Underhill, or On the Doorstep, Black Riders, all those other expansions for Lord of the Rings. It will sit right next to and blend right in seamlessly. It's not going to be another behemoth box. Now, the only plus about the old core box was that you could actually use it to store cards in, which was kind of nice, or even get broken token dividers in order to make use of it as a storage solution. But this one is going to be kept small and is likely not going to have as much air going on inside of it. So let's go ahead and flip this thing over on the back, take a look at what's on the back of the box. We'll rip the top off and see what's inside too. The Lord of the Rings, the card game, is a cooperative game for 1 or 2 players where each player controls a band of adventurers who are attempting to complete dangerous quests in Middle-earth. The players must work together in order to defeat scenarios controlled by the game. With the addition of a copy of the core set, up to 4 players can play cooperatively. As a living card game, additional cards and quests are available in regular expansions, allowing players to customize the contents of this set or to create their own original decks. This 2-player limited edition starter box comes with 2 pre-built player decks constructed from previously released cards, but with 2 new heroes and all new graphic design. This is one of the really coolest parts of this entire thing. Also included in this box are 2 unique scenarios, another nice addition in here, and the threat trackers and tokens required to play them. So with the box lid off, we can see the Learn to Play book is much smaller now. It fits inside of an expansion-sized box, so that's quite a big difference from what we were used to with the original core box, which is still around. But this limited one cuts it right down to a smaller manual size, which might be handy for people in terms of keeping it at the game table and not taking up as much space. So again, it's going to follow the exact same type of print and formatting as you'd expect from the original. You're going to have your nice quick reference on the back, along with all the different character and enemy statistics and things like that, different phases you're playing through. But for the most part, there's a little bit of artwork that sneaks its way into this particular one, which is nice. But at the end of the day, really, you're going to have a couple quests that are also merged into this one, plus the rules. So that's very, very cool. So we'll put that aside. Next up, we've got ourselves some actual punch-outs here. Now this is really interesting. It actually kind of shocks me because I didn't realize how truly small these trackers are. Now, if you are familiar with the original core game for Lord of the Rings, the trackers were probably around this size. These things are tiny. I think my index finger could go across this entire thing. It's very, very small, but that could be really, really handy in terms of, just keeping it in the palm of your hand and also not taking up that much space on the table. Also, it makes it more portable, so it's easier to store maybe inside of like a deck box. Like for instance, I have like an Ultra Pro deck box that I might want to throw my cards in. I can actually put that inside of there, whereas before I had to find some alternative storage solution to get those trackers in. Now, you don't need trackers. You can use anything as a tracker technically, but if you want to keep the thematic feel of it, it's nice to have them. You've also got some additional resource tokens, damage tokens, progress tokens, all the things we're familiar with the game. Won't go ahead and open this one up, plus a first player starting token, but I'm not going to open this one up because we know what most of that is all about. But what's really exciting is diving into the cards, and you'll notice right off the bat, if you're familiar with any Lord of the Rings games at all, the artwork is never this large on the card. It's usually about half the card's size at best, and that's typically the standard, whereas with this one, it looks like it's now 66% of the card is the art, which I think is amazing because now the focus is going to be on the actual look of the game. Now again, that's just stuck to this particular limited collector's edition, so that's kind of a nice thing to do for the fans basically of the game, to give them more focus on the artwork. And I'm going to go through these cards and show you how absolutely beautiful they really are. Alright, this should be a lot of fun as we go through all the art in the game. So we'll start off with Aragorn. You can see absolutely insane how much shows up on the card now. I'm not going to stop and show you any of the bottom portions really. I'm just going to focus mainly on the art because I think that's what really matters here. Again, when I get to my favorite artist, if I recognize his artwork, I will definitely show you because it's in here for sure. Gandalf is awesome. Having additional Gandalf cards is always a huge plus for any deck, really. So we're going to go through all this, just phenomenal stuff all the way around. But there's different artists doing different cards, which does give, wow, there it is. Absolutely, that is it. And this right here is the illustrator that I absolutely love. The cards that this illustrator makes are absolutely stunning. Amazing stuff. Just going to let you guys enjoy all the artwork on these cards because they're just crazy good. Crazy good. Super excited to be able to deck build with these cards and get them added in. Oh my gosh. Some of this stuff is just phenomenal. Like, looks so, so amazing. I'll try to keep the titles of the cards in at least so you guys can recognize anything. But again, a lot of this is bringing back, so many cards that I've used in my decks over the years that have helped me out. So it's really cool to have full-fledged art on some of these things now. So this is a really cool thank you to the fans really at the end of the day, because they could have just kept this looking the exact same as the other core sets and some of that, maybe given us some new cards and some new scenarios and said that was good enough. But this is really a true representation of them kind of giving a nice nod to everybody saying, thank you, and here's something a little bit different so that your cards kind of stick out a little bit more so than everybody else's, which I think is really cool. So this is one of the 3 decks in the game. We're going to go through the other 2 right now as well. The Eves of Mirkwood. Now the location cards are going to look even cooler. because of course you're going to be traversing all these different locations, and now it's just really going to pop because your focus is really going to be on these locations as you look through. Oh my goodness, these are so good. This is super exciting. I cannot wait. Cannot wait to use these. Oh my gosh. Spider looks a little bit more impressive. Yep, the goblins. I remember those guys. It's phenomenal stuff. You can see so much more detail when these cards are blown up to like 66% of the card being covered in art. Just really pumps it up to the next level in terms of immersion. You know what? And in all honesty, I kind of wish almost every card was like this now. This is a nice thing to do for the limited collector's edition, but now I kind of want it for every card in my set. They're so good. They're so nice. I don't think anyone would complain about artwork this large on a card if it really drew them into the experience more. So these are going to be some of the cards that come with the, and they're kind of spoilerish, of course, but so I'm going to move through them fairly quickly. But these are some of the ones that come with the new scenarios, basically, that are within the game. And of course, you got your round reference on the back. So that is the second deck of cards. Let's move on to the third. All right, last deck of cards. So some more Gandalf hiding in there. Now, just so you guys know, this is actually technically the second deck. Should have been done after the first one that I did, and then the one we just saw would have been the last one. But order doesn't really matter so much in this unboxing as I'm just showing you guys the artwork. This is another card I absolutely love the art on. Looks fantastic. There's so many good ones in here. It's just hard to stop and admire them all. They're all really good for different reasons, but some of them just really pop. But quite happy, very, very happy, worthwhile to grab this for myself anyway. This is worth it. For those of you, I'm very interested to let me know in the comments below. Do you have Lord of the Rings, the card game? Have you played it before? Are you interested in it? Are you still following along, picking up all the packs like I am? Are you still playing the game like I am, off camera, of course? But at some point in time in the future, you know, games like Mage Knight and Lord of the Rings, they are two of the games that brought me into the solo gaming hobby in a fury. So they're two of the ones that I truly want to show on the channel. I think it'd be really cool actually to do maybe a playthrough even using this set with a really cool expanded art, just to show you guys even just the beginnings basically of what you can expect with this limited collector's edition. So that is going to conclude this one, but the biggest thing I want to make mention of is the fact that I have no idea how long this will last. This could be a product that is, of course, it says it's limited, but it still is available. So at some point, the stock is going to run out, and I don't know if they're going to plan on recreating any more of these or not. So if you are interested in maybe completing your set and you think that you'd like to add this in for, you know, for the reasons that were mentioned on the back of the box, definitely go check out Fantasy Flight. Their store will actually detail out all the new things you can expect in the game and stuff like that. I didn't go through everything here and point out every single card that was new or different, because there's actually quite a few. There's some new characters, there's some new scenarios, but some of it's spoilerish. So I want to kind of keep it to a minimum. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was useful in your decision as to whether to pick it up or not. And good luck, because I have no idea what the stock is going to be like on this one. But this is definitely something that's very, very special for people that love Lord of the Rings. And as always, keep on rolling solo.